Hey everyone, it's Nick here from Childcare Business Growth. I hope you guys are having a super awesome day. I am very, very excited to have the amazing Joy Anderson with me today. And Joy is she's the founder and owner of Start, a preschool and a preschool system. So Joy, do you want to just start, if you don't mind, just giving everyone a little bit of a background to your story and why you're on this big mission, if you don't mind?
Absolutely. Thanks. And Nick, thank you so much for having me here. I'm excited to chat with your group and get to know everybody better. A little bit about me. So about 11 years ago, I had three beautiful kiddos, was married for about 8 years, and I was struggling. We're trying to make extra money and always find ways to make extra money into our family budget. After many, many years of trying to figure things out, sometimes, unfortunately, in life, the pressures of the world sometimes get to be too much. And I found myself literally almost overnight as a single mom to these three kids. And I was trying to figure out, I was a stay-at-home mom, and I could never really figure out how to get extra money to our budget, more than $200 to $300 a month. How am I supposed to raise these kids as a full-time single mom now, with a full-time income? And I started thinking, okay, well, I've only got a couple options, right? One, I could go get a job, put them in daycare, but I've been a mom, stay-at-home mom. I didn't want to do that, right? Number two, I could start a home daycare. Everybody talked, that's what you do if you want to stay home with your kids, is, just invite other kids over and then teach them, right? But because of going through a divorce at that time, my kids actually needed me. I didn't need to share myself with so many other children. First, 12-hour days, that was going to be just too much in my opinion. So that didn't really work out. And then honestly, I had this beautiful idea given to me, I believe from above, that was, if you don't want to start a daycare, Joy, then why don't you start a preschool instead, where instead of doing 12 long hours, you're only teaching preschool classes for 2.5 hours a day. Instead of teaching all ages, infants to 8-year-olds and everything, and after school care and all these different age groups, why don't you just teach 3 to 4-year-olds preschool? Instead of changing diapers, why don't you just, have kiddos who are potty trained, all these different things, right? So I was kind of here's the things I didn't like perhaps about having to spend 12 long hour days. But I was wait, okay, well, how can I turn this into a full-time income? And then the ideas just started going. And so I was able to start my preschool after a very short, quick time. This was about 11 years ago. So nobody was teaching how to start preschools back then. Everybody was teaching how to start daycares. And, I didn't want, and everything was different. And so I had to really figure it out on my own. It was really difficult. But eventually I did get my preschool started. And a generally concept of a preschool, so that everybody can kind of have a frame of mind here. You basically teach classes for 2.5 hours to these 3 to 5-year-olds in your home. Usually that's where you can get started the fastest, or you can actually do it in a church or a rented building or another person's home or things like that. But I got started in my home. A lot of the people I helped start in their home. And so how I kind of structured it is there was 4 classes. The first one would be Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 9 to 11:30 for 12 kiddos. I teach them, and then they all go home.
Nice.
And then Monday, Wednesday, Friday afternoon, 12 to 2:30. I teach those kiddos, and then they all go home. And then I've got Tuesday, Thursday, 9 to 11:30. I teach them, and then they all go home. And then Tuesday, Thursday, 12 to 2:30, I teach them, they all go home. So 48 different students was how I kind of structured my preschool. But I was only teaching 5 hours a day, and it worked with my kids could come to preschool with me. My older one went to elementary, and I could, goodbye. And then I'd start my preschool, and then I'd be done with my preschool. Be oh, hello, you're back from school.
Yeah.
So it really worked with my schedule, with my family. And then along the way, after I started my preschool, I was other people need to know about this. And that's what really started me on my journey of teaching women how to start their own preschools and grow them. And I've been doing that for the last 11 years as well with preschool system. As far as our own personal preschool, it started small as a home. We grew it. We grew it into 2 locations, and then we had 150 students per year in our school. I was able to teach over 1,000 students, not personally, but with all my teachers, in our community, and hire over 50 teachers. And it's just been such a blessing to our family and to the community. And I'm just excited to share all my ideas with your group and see how I can help them as well.
Perfect. That's such a lovely story as well. And the big thing for us, when we set up our childcare business as well, was we wanted to be able to spend more time with our children. Exactly like you said, it's all about that family approach. But also what I found interesting as well, since we've had our own childcare business as well, is the family connections you get to build. It becomes this huge extended family, doesn't it? Which is it's just so lovely because you get to build relationships. And my wife's got friends now that started to come into our daycare 10, 11 years ago. And it becomes that amazing family approach. I love that about the whole thing. So now I'm excited because we're going to talk about 3 things that are big barriers or big issues that, whether you're in a daycare or a preschool, are big problems that can really cripple your business. Now, before we go into those, because I'm excited to talk about this, one thing I just want to talk about really briefly. The people that you help, why do they come to you? What is it why do they want to start their own preschool?
Absolutely. I think they come for a lot of different reasons, but a couple that are the most common. One, they just want more income in their budget. They're like, I'm a stay-at-home mom, or I kind of do some stuff on the side, but really our budget just isn't making it and we need to do something more. But why they want to do this is because they want to stay home with their kids. They want to be home. They want to spend that quality time with them. They don't want to be on the computer, doing work online. They truly do want to spend time with their kids and also get paid doing it. That's what I loved about the preschool model, because every day I'm like, let's start preschool and we just go have fun together for 2.5 hours. I can devote all my energy into this and be so present with my kiddos and with everybody else. We're having a blast. And then everybody leaves and I'm like, okay, we're just back to family time. So it was ideal for me because I could give high energy to those time periods, give my best, and be rewarded also financially with it. So that's one of the groups that definitely comes to me. And of course, then you've got this very passionate group of educators and teachers and just childcare professionals who are I just love children and I know it's my calling in life, and maybe they've been burnt out from the school system, right? They're teachers who are I love children. This is everything I do. This is who I am, but I'm burned out from the drama or the school district, or, I don't want to do a daycare because maybe the 12 hours isn't exactly, I just want to focus my time on teaching, things like that, in a certain age group that they prefer. So it really, and then you've got this other group that are actually the child care workers at the time. They're the ones who own the child cares and the daycares, and they're burned out. So they're the ones who are coming to me saying, whoa, I need to change because whatever I'm doing right now, it's not working. I'm not being fulfilled. I'm not getting enough money. I'm overwhelmed. And this seems like a solution to still let me live my passion, right? Still give my calling a mission, still be able to create income, still be able to spend time with my kids, just in a different type of manner.
Yeah, totally. And that's why everyone in this group, it's so important for you, because we've got people at all stages. We've got owners that own multiple daycares. We've got people who are managers looking to set up their own facilities or have their own home-based business. So this is why I want to get Joy, because not only has Joy got that experience of, want to do this to be able to spend more time with the children as well, but she knows the points that businesses struggle with. Joy's been doing this for 11 years now. She's got all that experience, that knowledge to share with you guys. So on that point, shall we start to talk about those 3 key areas that you feel, put a huge potential risk on a business? So what are they then, Joy?
Absolutely. And I'm going to tell you, they all revolve around this big circle called burnout. I don't know if this is a circle, but burnout. This is a real thing, guys. And for those of you who haven't started a preschool or daycare or childcare or anything yet, and you're just looking to get into this is still so critical for you to listen up to, because these are things that you might run into eventually in your career. And so you want and if you're already in it, these might be resonating with you right now. Burnout. There's 3 things about burnout, though. It's not some people just use that word oh, I'm burned out, right? But when you really boil it down, there's 3 different areas that I've found that cause that burnout. Number 1 is being overwhelmed with all the things. Number 2 is not getting enough compensation. And then number 3, of course, is losing your passion along the way. And those 3 different burnouts I'd love to talk on. Do you want me to just dive into the first one?
Perfect. Yeah, let's go.
Awesome. So being overwhelmed, right? This is really like the time that you have in your day is not enough for all the things that are required of you. And this really has to come down to, like, if you're talking about what's actually happening in the business, maybe you're covering everybody else's shifts. Maybe they're the ones giving you the call at, 5 a.m., 5:30, 2 a.m. Hey, I'm throwing up. My kiddo just had something happen to them. Can you get me a sub, right? Like, I was always the receiver of that phone call as the owner director, right? Like, I'm the one getting that phone call because I need to make sure that my school runs. And so my teachers would call me. And so in that situation, it's like, well, okay, sure. Yeah. Get better. Like, you go back to bed. I'm going to stay awake and like try to call all my 6 subs right now to figure out how to get that working. So it's having to, and then if your subs can't do it, right, then you're literally the one saying, of course, I'm not going to let my business flail. I can't cancel that class or whatever. You're going to have to cover the shift. But you still have all your other duties. Like, you still have all the things you still have to do, and you're adding one more thing to your plate. So the more that you add, the more weight is obviously added. And at the end of the day, like, there's either so many hours, you can't do 2 classes at once, right? You can't combine 2 classes. And your things are dropping off your plate, and your sacrifice, like, things are struggling. And anyways, I have a story about this. This was probably the worst year of the entire preschool. I had set it up correctly. I had the teachers in place. They were amazing. I had hired, I do love this. Hire, let's see, what is it? Hire right the first time, right? I know what it is. Okay. Be slow to hire and quick to fire. That's what it is.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. So I had hired great. Like, my teachers were amazing. However, throughout the school year, we started realizing there were 3, like, I only had like 6 teachers, but 3 of them, we had major difficulties that year, not because of them, they were phenomenal, but because of exterior conflicts. So one of them was just really struggling in her health. She just would constantly, she had some things, like, we didn't know what was going on with her. And, but it affected her ability to teach. And so, of course, you want to be so, like, supportive and like, we love you. And of course, we'll take on that next class. And of course, I get that you've been gone 3 out of the 5 days this week and every week. And you really are shouldering the burden of her health difficulties. At the same time, another teacher was having family struggles, like, her kiddos would be sick or get hurt, or her husband, or all these different things where she would constantly be like having, it's like, I just got to school. I've only been here for an hour, but I got to leave because I just got the phone call and I'm the one that, she's the one that has to go take care of it. Yeah. And I'm like, whoa, like, my day just got started and all of a sudden I'm trying to like solve all the problems.
Yeah.
And just immediately come into her shift. So like another teacher, this was the year, I tell you, another teacher, she had never set up the childcare for her own children. So they went to school, but if there was a doctor visit, if there was whatever, she just felt so strongly that no one else could do that job other than her. And we had kind of given her leniency throughout the other years that, sure, if you need to do this or that, we'll cover you, right? Well, you put all 3 of those on top of each other in 1 year, and not having a big enough sub base where you can like solve those. It was really, really difficult that year. And I found myself like, even if like you can call so many subs, but at the end of the day, like it's you. And so I found myself subbing probably 2 and this was a full-time owner director, right? Like, you have 150 families that you're trying to support, and all the teachers and the financial and everything. And then when all of this is added to you, it really gets to the point where it's like, this is just too much, like, if I'm subbing 2 out of every 5 days, there's a problem. Yeah. So you go into this, like, you love your teachers, but do you really want to hire mid-year? Because we work on like a 9 to 10 month school year.
Cool.
And so pulling a teacher out mid-year is actually a big deal because like it's their teacher, right? And so yeah, it just kept getting, heavier and heavier. Eventually, what really was the breaking point was I got the flu, like influenza flu. I was out for 10 days. Don't even call me. Like, you guys have the sub list, and if you can't get a sub, I'm sorry. It got to that point where there was no one else to take care of me, right? Like, I just had to and so when you're doing that, you realize real fast, like, maybe you've got some flaws in the system. Maybe you've let a teacher slide for too long. And so people who are just even haven't started a preschool or childcare, or are just beginning and not even having teachers, remember this story, because when you do start bringing teachers on or people to help you, like, it's really important to start from the beginning what the expectations are, right? So a couple solutions to help you not be overwhelmed and have these situations happen like they did for me for that year. I call it the 3 deep, just 3 deep. And what it means is, like, when I hire somebody, I ask them, well, it's usually like after I hire, because you can't ask this question in the hire. You can't say, do you have children?
Yeah.
But I've already researched them. I've already looked at them on Facebook. I already know they have kids. So it's usually a question like after I hire or something. But I always ask, like, who are the 3 people that you can call to take care of your child? Because it's not going to be you, like, as number 1, period. Like, if you are a single mom, if you are, like, the only person that can take care of your child, I don't know that you're actually right for my business, because just the way that I structure it, like, I actually need, like, it's fine if you're a single mom, cool, but go have somebody's phone number that, the neighbor down the street or whoever, right? Like, you just need to have the 3 people that you can contact so that they can take care of your child when there's, like, an emergency or things like that. Now, these were, like, little things. These weren't like, my child's in the emergency room, right? They weren't real emergencies.
Yeah.
Because, of course, I would totally get that. But these were little things like, my child has a fever. My child can't go to school.
Yeah, totally.
So I call it the 3 deep. I just, you're required to have three numbers that you can immediately call. And if you've exhausted those 3, then I'll get you a sub, things like that. Another one is you have to increase your sub workforce. So I love to actually contact the preschool parents before whoever your families are, before the school year even starts, and who is interested in coming to sub. Like, you don't have to be my long-term sub. I have my subs I love, but you're my backup sub, my backup of a backup.
Okay. Yeah.
So you already have these families. They already know a lot about what you do. A lot of them have already been in the classroom and volunteered. A lot of them already know some of the kiddos because they've been around them. And of course, they know their own child, right? And so if their own child is going to preschool that day, I think a parent would rather say, you know what, cool, I'll go do preschool so that we don't have to cancel preschool that day.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah, and getting a little bit extra money, I'm sure those parents would love that too. So reaching out to your actual families if you need to add additional subs beyond your real subs. And then also outsource part of your job. So as the director owner, you really need to get stuff off of your plate that you've been carrying for way too long. This is all of the stuff that maybe you still enjoy doing, but it's like stupid stuff you shouldn't be doing, right? Like, I actually love doing paperwork and all this, I don't know, I just enjoy doing that stuff. And so, but why? I don't need to do that, right?
Totally. Yeah.
So if you are maxed out, if this is your circle of abilities and you're already maxed out, what's going to happen when something comes into your thing and overflows you, right? You're overwhelmed. I've heard this analogy. I really love it. So if you have a cup and you're carrying it around, it's full of water, and somebody comes by and bumps you and you get upset because that overflowed onto you, right? Like, whose fault is it? Is it their fault that they bumped into you, or is it your fault they're literally walking around in life with an overflowing cup, filled to the brim? Okay?
I love that. Yeah. Yeah.
Whose fault is that? You're going to get bumped. And this is kind of what I love to remind everybody. You're going to have things happen in anybody's business. It doesn't matter how well you run it, that will upset the flow, that will bump you. And you have to have ability in your cup to be able to take other people's in, right?
Yeah.
So outsource part of your job.
Love that. I love that. I never heard that analogy before. That's a great analogy.
Thank you. I like it.
Before you go on as well, there's a couple of things there that so resonated with me, if you don't mind if I just chip into those. But you talk there a lot about, increase your sub workforce. A lot of the daycares that we work with, the childcare business in general, we always say to them, look, I spoke to a client recently. In 1 month, they had spent £10,000, so roughly $11,500, $12,000 on agency fees. Okay.
Yes.
Which is crazy, crazy amounts of money. And what I've said to them is, okay, so out of all those agency, one of the big things I find with people, I say is, okay, if any of those agency staff were good, how often are you going out? Are you adding these people to your list? So you talked about there increasing your sub workforce. One of the big things I try and get across to everyone, regardless of how big or small your childcare business is, or your preschool, you need to be contact. You need to have the value is in your list. And I know, Russell talks about this a lot, but the value is in your list in any business, whether it's customers or your workforce. And I always say to people, always look for ways that you can increase your list. So one of the things we build for our clients is a recruitment list. So whenever they have a vacancy or they need cover staff, they have this huge list of people that they've pre-qualified that they can go out to at every single time. Rather than, hey, we've got a new vacancy come up, let's go and advertise it, let's spend money to advertise it. If you've got this list behind you, that list is yours. You can go and market to that list for free. And if you pre-qualified them, make the most of that. And the second one you talked about is, outsource work. This is one of the biggest barriers I find right now with a lot of childcare businesses that we speak to, is that there are 5 key areas to any business. There's marketing, sales, operations, delivery, and finance. What I find is most childcare providers come from that background, which is great. They love the operations and delivery. They love that, how amazing their facility looks, and making it better and better all the time. But I also ask them is, okay, if you've got vacancies or space right now in your business, and I know we're going to come on to compensation later on, but if you've got vacancies and you need to get more money into the business, how much time are you spending on the marketing and the sales of the business? And often I find that people don't spend time on that because they maybe don't know how to do it, or B, they don't like doing it, so they tend to avoid doing it. And like you say, what they could be doing is, hey, that's good enough right now. That area is maybe a green in my business, but the sales and marketing side or this work, there's too much over here. I need some help. So it's either a case, like you said, you outsource the things you don't need to work on, so you can then focus on the time where the business needs you right now.
Yes.
And there are too many businesses. Unfortunately, we are getting businesses every single month, particularly in the UK right now. I see this every week. There's at least one big childcare business closing down, at least one every week.
Wow.
A lot of the time, it's that I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but they are blaming external things like government, etc. I get that, it has an impact. But when you look at the amount of marketing or they've done, it's because they have not spent enough time on the sales and marketing of that business as well.
Good.
So it's a big thing, but like you said, so increase your sub workforce, outsource the work, and 3D. So really important points. I really appreciate those. Okay, so should we move on to compensation?
Yeah, absolutely. If you love today's episode, then you are going to love this. I want to give you a free gift in your hands. This is a copy of my book, Start Your Preschool, and I want to get it to you for free. Yes, I said for free. It is a 300-page book. It'll help you learn the step-by-step process to actually starting your local or your online preschool. Every single step that I walked myself through, as well as the thousands of women who've created their own successful preschools, have gone through the exact steps listed in this book. Not to mention, I also share 20 amazing women's stories. So you can see how not only did it work for me, but it works for amazing women just like you as well.
I want to get you this free copy. Just go to freepreschoolbook.com or click the link in the description and we'll get it to you today. Again, just go to freepreschoolbook.com and we'll get it right to you.